Good day, everyone. Our topic for today is all about representations of one-to-one function and inverse of one-to-one function. But before that, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and hit the bell button for more updates. Also, you can find different subjects in the playlist in this YouTube channel, particularly general mathematics, advanced statistics, mathematics in the modern world, practical research, and basic calculus. Now, let's proceed to our main topic. Let f and g be two functions such that f of g of x equals to x for every x in the domain of g, and g of f of x is equal to x for every x in the domain of f. If f raised to negative 1 exists, then f raised to negative 1 is a one-to-one function. 2. Domain of f negative 1 is equal to the range of f. And 2. Range of f raised to negative 1 is equal to the domain of f. To understand it better, let's have an example. In the representation of a one-to-one function and one-to-one inverse of a function, we can represent them in three ways. Number one is through mapping, number two is through tables, and number three is through the use of sets. So we will do this in this example. So the given is y equals 2x plus 3 such that x is equal to negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. If the given is f of x, for instance, you need to change the f of x into y. So halimbawa, ang given natin ay f of x equals 2x plus 3. Papalitan muna natin ito ng y. That's why nakalagay dito sa ating equation ay y equals 2x plus 3. Now, let's solve first for the values of y using negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. First, let's have negative 2 as the value of x. Therefore, if we will solve this one, we have 2, y equals 2x plus 3, right? So we have 2, negative 2. So substitute the values of x in this equation, plus 3. So we have negative 2 times 2. So we have negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. So the value of y is negative 1. For negative 1, let's have 2, negative 1 plus 3. So we have 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. For 0, we have 2 times 0 plus 3, and that is obviously 3. For 1, we have 2 times 1 plus 3. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 3. The answer is 5. And finally, for 2, we have 2 times 1 plus, it's 2 plus 3. So we have 2 times 2, 4 plus 3. So that's 7. Okay? Now, the first representation for this function, it's a function, right, is mapping. So the first one is mapping. To represent mapping in the in a function, so we can do a mapping through this. That's the values of the domain and the range. So we have the x here. So we have negative 2, 0, 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2, I think. Okay, so that's the first part. And then we will do a map like that. And then for y, we have, I think that's negative 1, 1, 3, 5, and 7. So that's another mapping. Okay. For the function, so to have a mapping, ganyan lang gagawin. You will write an arrow, right? That's the mapping. Meaning to say, these are ordered pairs. Negative 2 and negative 1 are ordered pairs. Negative 1 and 1. 0, 3, 1, 5, and 2, 7. To make it an inverse, para maging inverse siya, inverse, or 1 to 1 inverse, it's 1 to 1 inverse. Ang gagawin lang natin is we will draw a double arrow. Okay? So that means it is a 1 to 1 inverse of a function. Okay? Now, in a table, we will represent naman the given using table this value. So we will just write x and y for our function. So this is a function, right? Function, or it is f of x. Okay, so for this one, let's have this table. So we have, I think, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we have negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Yung partner ni negative 2 is negative 1, 1, 3, 5, and 7. So this is a function, right? Now to make it an inverse of a function, so we have inverse of a function which is f negative 1 of x. So ganito lang gagawin natin, yung x and y, we will just interchange the values. So ang mangyayari, okay, ang mga values ng y ay aakyat or ilalagay natin sa x, at ang values ng x ay ilalagay natin sa y. So we will have negative 1, 1, 3, 5, and 7. And for y, we have negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. So, ganun yung inverse niya. Okay? In a table representation and mapping. And lastly, for the sets, okay? So, let's say we have set A. Okay? I'm sorry. Let's have set A. So, we have A equals, in the first part, ang magkasama sa mapping ay negative 2 and negative 1. Another is negative 1 and 1. Another is 0 and 3. Another is 1 and 5. And finally, we have 2 and 7. So that's our first set. Okay, and this set is a function. Okay, now for the inverse of a function, let's say this is the inverse of a function. So we have negative 1, negative 2. Again, we will just interchange the values of x and y. So we have 1, negative 1, 3, 0, 5, 1, and 7, 2. Okay, so that's all about the representation of the one-to-one function and inverse of a function. So the first one is the one-to-one function, and kapag nilagyan mo siya ng another, it's inverse of one-to-one function. The first is a one-to-one function. The second table is an inverse of a one-to-one function. The first set is a one-to-one function, and the second set is an inverse of the one-to-one function. So, using this equation, y equals to x plus 3 given the values of x, such as negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay? Now, to make it more explicitly explain, let's have another example. So for this example, we have y equals 3x minus 1, such as the values of x are negative 3, negative 1, 0, 1, and 3. So we will do the same process here. So we will have the values of x as negative 3, negative 1, 0, and 1 and 3. And for the y, which is 3x minus 1, we will have the values of y. So here we have 3 times negative 3 minus 1. That's negative 9, negative 1. So negative 10 is the answer. For this one, 3, negative 1, minus 1. That's negative 3, negative 4 is the answer. For this one, 3 times 0 times negative 1. The answer is negative 1. For this, we have 3 times 1 minus 1. I think the answer is 2, right? And finally, we have 3 times 3 minus 1. 9 minus 1. So the answer is 8. So we have now this one. And first, we will represent this into mapping. So we have mapping. For the one-to-one inverse, we have the following. So we have x and y. And the values of x are negative 3, negative 1, 0, 1, and 3. And for the y, we have negative 10, negative 4, negative 1, 2, and 8. Then you will draw a oblong or ellipse, and then put an arrow showing ordered pairs or coordinates. And then this is what we call the one-to-one function. To make it a one-to-one inverse of a function, just put another arrow on the other side. So this is now one-to-one inverse. Okay? Now, to make it in the table representation, we will first write the function. So let's write first the function. So we have x and y. And the values of x and y are negative 3, negative 1, 0, 1, and 3, I think. Okay? And now for the y, we have negative 10, negative 4, negative 1, 2, and 8. Tanong is, pwede po bang isulat sila ng di sunod-sunod? Hindi pwede. Kung sinong katapat niya sa mapping or dito sa way ng pagsasolve natin, siya yung magiging katapat niya rin sa table. Okay? Now, interchange the values of x and y. That will become the inverse of x or the function. So we have y, So we have x and y. That is negative 10, negative 4, 0, 1, and 3. And then, we have negative 3, negative 1. Hindi ko napansin iyan. So, we have negative 1, 2, and 8. And then, this one is 0, 1, and 3. Okay? So, this is the inverse of a function using tables. Now, finally, we have sets. Using sets, so we have, let's say set A, we have the following. What are those? We have negative 3 and negative 10. Another negative 1 and negative 4. Another is 0 and negative 1. Next is 1, 3. 1, 2, I'm sorry. 1, 2, and then 3, 8. Alright, so this is the inverse. The function. And for the inverse of this one, we have negative 10, negative 3, negative 4, and negative 1, negative 1 and 0, 2 and 1, and finally 8 and 3. Alright, so that's all about the inverse, the representation of a one-to-one function and one-to-one inverse of a function. Hopefully you learned something from this lesson. So don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and hit the bell button for more updates. Bye-bye.